Imagine you're on a dusty Holy Land plain in 1191. The sun bakes down, air thick with heat and tension. You're a hardened soldier in Saladin's army. Then you spot them. White cloaks, red crosses, moving perfectly. The earth shakes with their horses. Your commander's voice wavers. Everyone knows what's coming. The Knights Templar charge. They aren't here to negotiate or retreat, they are here to fight. But why did no one want to face these fearsome warriors? The violence will feel like God's hand crushing you into the ground. This isn't Hollywood. It's no romantic tale. This is the harsh truth of encountering medieval warfare's most dreaded power. For these warrior monks, death during combat wasn't a tragedy, but their direct passage to paradise. Let's uncover the secrets behind their fearsome reputation. We'll separate myth from fact to reveal the raw, tactical reasons these warriors were so intimidating. The Templars' beginnings were surprisingly modest. It all began in 1119. Jerusalem's kingdom was only 20 years old, besieged by foes from every direction. Muslim bandits preyed on roads connecting port cities and sacred locations. They massacred Christian pilgrims, preventing them from even seeing the Holy Sepulchre Church. Blood flowed freely on the roads, and no military could keep every route safe. Subsequently, Hugues de Payens, a knight hailing from France's Champagne area, proposed a bold idea. This concept was warrior monks forming a dedicated group guarding pilgrims. He, along with 8 others, swore an oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience to Jerusalem's patriarch. Their commitment was to exist as Christ's impoverished soldiers. Lodging was provided by King Baldwin II, who assigned them a section of the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount. Crusaders thought this location housed the remnants of Solomon's temple. From that conviction, their name was derived. They were formerly known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, or simply, the Knights Templar. From merely 9 humble knights, they rapidly evolved into a powerful force. This power would significantly disrupt the entire medieval world's structures. They weren't mercenaries battling for riches. They weren't feudal forces bound to a lord. Rather, they were a steadfast, well-drilled, pious military order, reporting directly to the Pope. Their strict code of conduct would overwhelm most modern soldiers in just 7 days. Their strict tenets originated from Saint Benedict's monastic codes. These were then adapted and militarized for combat. No private property, no confidential talks with females, and no ostentatious attire or ornate gear. Even their war horses needed modest fittings. No needless embellishments hinting at pride or vanity. Daily life was structured with military exactness. Dawn brought prayers, even before the sky lightened. Mornings involved weapons practice and armor upkeep. During quiet meals, holy texts were recited for all to hear. Beyond chewing and wooden bowl scraping, silence reigned. Consider it mandatory auditory instruction, but instead of enjoyment, you're memorizing it, checking your mail for oil, treat. Disobeying resulted in instant penance. A knight breaking battle formation, charging ahead for personal glory, could lose his white mantle before his brethren. This represented the deepest shame, barring expulsion, marking someone who prioritized ego. Above duty, they kept compact formations, quickly reacting to battle standards and horn signals. Individual knights never operated alone. Discipline consistently overcame personal glory. Templars fought as a unit, one body, a collective force whose unity rendered them incredibly destructive. For sieges, they guarded entries and ramparts until reinforcements arrived, or they perished standing firm. When ground conditions prevented cavalry, if cavalry charges proved unfeasible, they instantly dismounted, fighting as heavy infantry. Their kite shields formed an iron wall, holding against any attack. From joining the order, a recruit stopped being just a knight. He underwent reshaping, molded into a tougher, more perilous being. Relentless, months-long training mercilessly drilled them. Combat in full armor continued until fatigue was ignored, mastering a warhorse amidst battlefield mayhem. Maintaining formation silently as arrows descend like rain. Training intentionally mirrored the disorder of actual combat. Abrupt trumpet calls indicating swift maneuvers. Feigned retreats tested if knights would abandon discipline to chase. Quick dismounts simulated defending fractured walls. Beyond physical fitness, the training went further. Mental discipline came from scripture and prayer, as rigorous as physical combat training. Their objective was producing soldiers ready to obey, fight, and die, all without fear or question. Weapon drills were ceaseless and monotonous. Riders practiced with spinning quintains, rotating targets that would hit poorly skilled lancers. Countless sword strikes ingrained the motions, making them pure muscle memory. A Templar stayed armed and armored even while sleeping, prepared for battle minutes after an alarm. Work-life balance? That idea simply didn't exist. Picture resting in chainmail with your commander expecting combat at any time, day or night, for years. On the battlefield, they became tools of devastation. Mounted on horseback, the lance served as their main weapon, held firmly for peak impact. A single, precisely timed charge executed in formation could break enemy ranks and rout an organized force. If their lance broke upon striking, they effortlessly swapped to arming swords, maces, or warhammers, deploying any weapon needed. Let's now explore their armor, which transformed the Templar from a human into a mobile fortress. They outfitted themselves with a hauberk, a long shirt made of countless interlocking metal rings that protected from shoulders to knees. Their heads were covered by a coif, a chainmail hood that defended the skull and neck from cutting attacks. Leg protection came as chausses, adaptable chainmail leggings worn over substantial padding. Below the metal, a gambeson or acketon was worn, offering crucial defense. These thick, padded garments absorbed impacts and kept the chainmail from chafing. Their skin would stay raw through hours of movement. Eventually, plate armor was integrated for their elbows, knees, and shins. This progressive enhancement led to the full armor sets that defined later medieval combat. Crowning their gear was the formidable Great Helm, a distinctive flat-topped bucket helmet that totally encased the head. This offered ultimate protection, sacrificing peripheral vision and easy breathing. Envision battling for hours in desert heat, with a steel container ensnaring your breath and constraining your view through narrow slits. Little wonder their prayers were effective. Their shields, emblazoned with the Red Cross, served a dual purpose: protection and mental combat. A phalanx of Templars marching in unison, with shields interlocked, their advance could shatter foe morale before any weapon deployment. Just their appearance frequently triggered widespread panic. During sieges, their methods weren't confined to cavalry maneuvers. They operated crossbows with lethal precision, braced spears against attacking foes, and managed trebuchets with frightening accuracy. For nothing demonstrates sacred commitment better than propelling a 200-pound stone through a fortress wall. The Templars weren't simply training for conflict. They experienced it, absorbed it, and completely embodied it. The genesis of their legend occurred at the 1177 Battle of Montgesard. A small contingent of Templar knights aggressively attacked Saladin's immense force of thousands. This caused the era's most formidable Muslim general to flee for his very survival. King Baldwin IV, known as the Leper King, led an army far smaller than Saladin's. They were ill, vastly outnumbered, and utterly outclassed by all strategic metrics. Saladin had become excessively self-assured. Consequently, his troops were dispersed and exposed. The Templars advanced in flawless formation, their armoured war horses thundering over the plain with lances poised. The force of their impact tore through Saladin's ranks effortlessly, causing immediate panic. Saladin himself only just managed to escape alive, with his standing gravely undermined. Few events announce your arrival, as effectively as a modest group of monks routing the most powerful army in the Middle East. They forced its celebrated commander to flee in disgrace. Then, the pivotal Battle of Hattin took place in 1187. This was a true crucible. Saladin enticed the Crusader forces, Templars included, into the dry hills around Tiberias. Under scorching heat with no water or clear escape route, they had walked straight into Saladin's snare. The Templars maintained their ranks for as long as physically possible, yet even their renowned discipline could not conquer the effects of dehydration and extreme exhaustion. The Crusader army was annihilated, and hundreds of Templars were taken captive, with the majority executed without delay. Saladin, admiring their bravery, then offered them an ultimatum: convert to Islam or face death. Without exception, every Templar knight chose execution. If you must be destroyed, then at least do so with such defiance that your conqueror acknowledges you were the most fearsome foe he had ever encountered. This crushing loss directly resulted in Jerusalem's capture. The remaining Templars spearheaded the resistance, manning the fortifications and regrouping the available troops. For days they maintained their defense against overwhelming opposition. Yet, by October 1187, the city gave up. Individuals able to pay a ransom received permission to depart, while those without funds were forced into slavery. However, the city's loss did not terminate their primary objective. Rather, it reshaped their entire mission. Subsequently, the Templars shifted their focus from merely safeguarding the sacred city. Their new goal was to reclaim it through battle. Subsequently, Acre underwent a protracted siege between the years 1189 and 1191. It entailed 2 full years of relentless siege tactics. Illness and intense heat claimed as many lives as did the actual combat. The Templars pushed back nightly incursions, initiated attacks on city walls, and slowly advanced siege towers amidst heavy arrow volleys and scalding oil. Picture roughing it outdoors for 2 straight summers, only rather than appreciating nature, you're evading arrows and consuming water reeking of putrefaction. During the 1191 Battle of Arsuf, they notably displayed their exceptional self-control. They maintained their ranks despite incessant arrow fire from Saladin's horse-mounted archers for hours, steadfastly holding their line until King Richard the Lionheart issued the command. Once the bugles at last blared and their standards dipped, the Templars unleashed a crippling counterattack. Their powerful lances splintered Saladin's horsemen, dispersing his troops into complete disarray. Few things illustrate expert patience, as well as enduring days of being a human target solely to unleash a single decisive charge that compels your foe to rethink every life decision leading to that point. Next came Damietta, besieged from 1218 to 1219, a key Egyptian stronghold on the Nile. Flooding, disease, and oppressive heat claimed more knights than enemy blades. Nevertheless, the Templars spearheaded the advance and successfully seized the city. Their resolve showed they could endure the most grueling campaigns conceivable and ultimately claim victory. Imagine living in knee-deep mire, constantly beset by pathogen-laden mosquitoes, alongside recurring epidemics of plague. all for the dubious honor of repeatedly striking your head against Egypt's most formidable entrance. Yet the ultimate catastrophe struck at Forbie in 1244. The Templars, Hospitallers, and their confederates confronted an immense Muslim alliance near Gaza. The Templars positioned themselves at the forefront and would not surrender. From sunrise until midday, they repelled wave after relentless assault, providing their allies an opportunity to withdraw. By evening, their defensive line finally shattered. Many perished, including almost every Templar knight present. This defeat severely hampered the order for years, yet they rebuilt and enlisted new knights, subsequently returning to the fray. Forsaking the Holy Land was simply inconceivable. What better shows dedication than losing nearly your whole force, then still appearing for a rematch? Their ultimate defense began at Acre in 1291. Mamluk Sultan al-Ashraf Khalil led his forces to the city's gates, and the Templars braced for a mortal struggle. They fiercely contested every street and every room. Their Grand Master, Guillaume de Beaujeu, suffered a fatal injury yet kept on battling. He uttered his very last words, saying, "I'm not in retreat, I'm gone. Behold, this is where I've been struck." They withdrew to the coastal tower, securing themselves within its walls, and resisted for days against a vastly superior foe. When the stronghold eventually succumbed, the Crusaders forfeited their final presence in the sacred land. The Templars retreated to Cyprus. Although their objectives in the Levant were undone, their legend was only just emerging. However, the Templars served as more than mere fighters. They were equally the premier financiers across medieval Europe. Monarchs entrusted their riches to Templar coffers. Merchants moved funds internationally through the order's monetary systems, established centuries before modern financial institutions. Sovereigns acquired vast sums to finance conflicts, often drawing upon loans from the very warriors who would subsequently engage such campaigns. Individual knights remained impoverished. Their sacred vows necessitated this. Yet the order itself managed land, strongholds, and benefactions on a massive scale, even rivaling entire kingdoms. Few things frighten a European sovereign more than martial friars, who excel at both combat and managing royal finances better than the monarch himself. Their sole authority was the Pope, not monarchs nor local magnates. This unique independence rendered them indomitable in warfare and immune to politics. For their allies, they served as the backbone of every engagement, serving as the ultimate defense and the initial attackers. For their foes, they represented something wholly distinct, orderly, proficient, and fanatically dedicated. Even Saladin admired their bravery before putting their captives to death. Their white cloaks bearing a crimson cross evolved into an emblem of terror throughout the Mediterranean region. Occasionally, the mere presence of Templar flags inflicted greater mental impact than their spears ever could. Few things dismantle your war strategy as effectively as seeing a phalanx of humble monks charging towards you and abruptly recalling a pressing engagement anywhere else globally. When they showed up for battle, one thing was absolutely certain, primarily absolute commitment. They would neither flee the field nor capitulate to the enemy. They would battle until triumph or demise, and truly were indifferent as to which occurred first. So, what made adversaries so unwilling to face a Knight Templar? Because confronting them meant encountering a foe who had already embraced their own mortality. An opponent who continuously honed their skills over many years. A foe who operated as one cohesive, deadly unit. A rival who steadfastly held their position when any rational person would flee. An opponent who assailed with such methodical ferocity that even experienced soldiers would shatter and retreat instead of facing the collision. It is important to note that the Templars were not truly invincible. In fact, they were quite capable of being slain. Indeed, they died in vast numbers throughout 2 centuries of relentless combat. Yet vanquishing them incurred a tremendous cost in lives and fear that few leaders were prepared to bear. They transformed their self-control into an implement of war as lethal as any blade. Their unwavering conviction became a shield more resilient than any steel. When one encountered a Knight Templar, they faced more than just a human being.